Good morning, scholars. We are going to be taking a look at lesson 2.3 again today. A lot of you were absent last week or found this lesson to be really challenging, so we'll just take a few minutes to go back over it again. Our learning goal for today is I can use quick picks to model division using whole numbers. And remember, when we use a quick pick, that we can draw a large square like this to represent 100, or this is 10 groups of 10. A line like this represents one long, or 10, and then either a dot or a little cube can represent 1. So let's take a look at some practice problems. Here's one that we've seen before. The problem is 156 divided by 12. As I look at this, I can see that here I have a flat. This is 10 groups of 10. But my problem says that I'm dividing by 12. So in order to represent that, I put two longs underneath that flat. That way, I can represent a group of 12 this way. So here's one group of 12. And I could do that on a cross. If we take a look at the next graphic here, you can see that this first group here, there are 10 groups of 12. 10 groups of 12 is really the same as 120. And then I have 36 left to break out into groups. So I'm going to put those into groups of 12 also. That takes 3 more groups. So in the end, 10 groups plus 3 groups, that equals 13 groups of 12 that can be made out of 156. So 156 divided by 12 equals 13. Let's practice another problem together. Let's do 168 divided by 12. Go ahead and write this on your paper. Work through it with me. If you need to pause the video from time to time, please do that. So I'm going to start first by recognizing that my divisor is 12. That means I'm going to make groups of 12. If I draw a flat, again, that is 10 groups of 10, but I need 10 groups of 12. So I'll have to draw one long under, that would give me 10 groups of 11, another long underneath, that would give me 10 groups of 12. All right, so 10 groups of 12, that really is the same as saying 120. This picture represents 120. So I'm going to count up to 168 from 120. 120 to 130, that's 10. 130 to 140, that's another 10. To 150, that gives me 3 10s. To 160, that's 4 10s. From 160 to 168, that's 8 more. So 120 plus 48, that will get me up to my total of my dividend, which is 168. Now I just have to represent or model 48 in groups of 12. Well, if I do 4 groups, let's try that out. Here's 10, 11, 12, plus 10 more would be 22, 23, 24. 24 plus 10 is 34, 35, 36. 36 plus 10 is 46, 47, 48. That shows that I can get 4 more groups of 12 in that total of 168. So altogether, there are 10 groups plus 4 groups of 12 to give a total of 14 groups of 12 in 168. So 168 divided by 12 equals 14. And there you can hear even Jake is whining about math today. Go ahead and copy the next problem onto your paper. 154 divided by 14. With your elbow partner, start working on your quick pick, pause the video, and then come on back. To represent 154, I'll start with a flat. A flat is 10 groups of 10, but my problem says I need to show this as groups of 14. So to show groups of 14, I'll lay 4 longs underneath the flat. Now I have 10 groups of 14, and that is a total of 140. So then I count up from 140 to 150, that's 110. From 150 to 154, that's 4 ones. So I need to have 14 more represented here to get to my dividend of 154. That's pretty easy because that's just one more group. So I'll draw a line and then 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. That's one group of 14. So altogether in 154, there are 11 groups of 14. Let's try another. 187 divided by 11. Go ahead and pause the video while you work through this with your elbow partner. All right, starting out with a flat, that is 10 groups of 10. But my problem today says that I need groups of 11. Turn to your partner and tell them how you would represent 10 groups of 11. Hopefully you all said to put a long beneath that flat. So this now becomes 10 groups of 11, or a total of 110. Go ahead and talk it over with your partner about how you can figure out how many more need to be modeled. I know that 110 is not enough modeling because my dividend is 187. So I'll count up from 110 to 120. That's 110. 130 is another 10. 140 is another 10. 150, 160, 170, 180. That should be, if you were keeping track on your fingers like I was, 7 more 10s. And from 180 to 187, that's 7 ones. So I need to model 77 more in my picture, because 110 plus 77, that's going to equal 187. Well, those of you that have your multiplication charts handy, you know very quickly that 77 is a number that plays nicely with 11. And you know that it is how many groups, scholars? That's right, 7 more. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more groups of 11. Altogether, that makes 17 groups of 11. So 187 divided by 11 equals 17. Here's another problem. 182 divided by 13. This time pause the video, work on it on your own, then check with a partner when your partner is done. Come back to the video to compare your work with mine. To model 182, I'm going to start with a flat. One flat is 10 groups of 10, but I need groups of 13. In order to show groups of 13, I'll lay 3 longs beneath my flat. Now I have 10 groups of 13. And 10 groups of 13 is really the same as 130. Then I count up 140, 150, 160, 170, 180. That gives me 5 tens from 130 to 180. And from 180 to 182, there are 2 ones. 130 plus 52 equals 182, which is my dividend. So then I have to figure out, well, how many groups of 13 will there be in 52? Well, I know that there are going to be at least, I'm going to guess 4. Let's try it here. So here would be 13 plus 10 more would be 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 plus 10 more would be 36, 37, 38, 39. 39 plus 10 more would be 49, 50, 51, 52. That's the number I'm looking for. So in this group, I have 4 more groups of 13. So 10 groups plus 4 groups equals 14 groups of 13. So 182 divided by 13 equals 14. I think we have time for just one more example. Then you are free to do your online assignment or work with Mrs. Hess if you need some more help. Let's try 165 divided by 11. Pause the video to work it through, then check back. I'm going to start modeling by using a flat. Remember, a flat is 10 groups of 10, but my divisor for this problem is 11. So I have to model 10 groups of 11. 10 groups of 11 is the same as 110. Then I'll count up from 110 by 10s to 160. Keeping track on my fingers how many groups of 10. So 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. That's 5 groups of 10. From 160 to 165, that's 5 more ones. So I need to model 55 more because 110 plus 55 equals 165. Again, if you look at your multiplication chart, you can quickly see that this would be simply 5 groups of 11. So 10 groups plus 5 groups equals 15 groups of 11. So 165 divided by 11 equals 15.